This is the car I'd been towing the trailer with since we purchased it back in December of 2020. But it has only 180 horsepower, which seemed adequate to me and certainly was good for Florida. But the owner's manual suggests you don't tow anything with this vehicle. So we upgraded to a Subaru Outback with a turbo, which has 250 horsepower. Here you see it at the Tourist Information and Welcome Center in Mississippi, when both the car and the trailer look like they're brand new. I'm going to try to show some of the places we camped along this way. Here is a spot in Oklahoma called Greenleaf State Park, and this was typical of the type of campsites we had. And as you can see, the car and the trailer ease in there without any trouble at all. From there we are in Kansas. This is a lake. There aren't a lot of lakes in this part of Kansas. This one's kind of lonesome, kind of hard to find, and we were about the only people at the campsite. But that's Mead Lake. Then we went on to Manitou Springs, which you can see we stayed in a hotel there, a motel, and had a couple parking spaces all to ourselves thanks to the generosity of the manager. We were able to get those spots right out in front of our room. Manitou Springs is the first night in the Rockies, and it's really a pretty town, kind of an old western town, and we thoroughly enjoyed Manitou Springs. This picture here is of the Garden of the Gods, which is one of the parks right next to Manitou Springs. From Manitou Springs we went up to the prairies and along the North Platte River in Wyoming. And this is what it looked like on the Oregon Trail. We're about 2 miles up a dirt road and around 13 miles around a lake in Glendo State Park. And even though we had no bathroom, water, or electricity, as you can see, the little trailer does just fine out there by itself, and it was a comfortable evening in the prairie, imagining that the next covered wagon would come around in just a moment. In Casper, Wyoming, there's an interpretive center for the trails, the Oregon, the California, the Mormon, and the Pony Express route that all come through there and split at that point. So we follow the trail, the Oregon Trail south, down to, here's a picture of Independence Rock, one of the major landmarks along the trail, and camped out in Boynton, Wyoming. We again had no electricity, no water, and only vaulted toilets, but it was very comfortable. The little trailer did just fine. It's a beautiful area in the Wind River Range, and that canyon that you go through in the Wind River Range is really spectacular. Lots of wildlife at this particular spot also. One of the people camping there had this teeny little boat, which I thought was gorgeous and wanted to get a picture of it. Once we got to Cody, Wyoming, we realized our hotel was actually about 20 miles west of town on the way to Yellowstone, and that put us near the Bill Cody Ranch, which is this ranch here, where my son worked just a few years ago, spent a summer up there working. He recommended we visit the South Fork of the Shoshone River, where this picture here is taken, and it's absolutely gorgeous. We had dinner that evening at Bill Cody's famous hotel, the Irma Hotel, that he built for his daughter and granddaughter, I can't remember which. In the morning we went on through Yellowstone National Park, which is always gorgeous, but the traffic moves very slowly. Anytime you see something like this alongside the road, the traffic is going to come to a complete stop, and Yellowstone certainly has an awful lot of wildlife. It's one of the things that make that park special. We moved on up to a state park called Black Sandy State Park near Helena, Montana. It's along a lake. Here's a picture of it from the lake. And then this picture here you see is looking the other direction up toward the hills. So it's a really pretty area. But at the end of the day, as we leave here, it's really just a RV park. So it has most of the ambiance of one large RV right next to each other. The drive from Helena up to the Kalispell area in Glacier National Park is beautiful. You have beautiful lakes every few miles, snow-capped peaks in the background. Really is a special area. I could spend some time there. When we got to our campsite at Glacier Campground, it wasn't like some of the campgrounds we'd seen coming up, but it was actually a real campground with real woods, and was wonderful. It had water, it had electricity, it had toilets, it had showers, it had the whole thing. It was very reasonable, and so we spent 4 nights there. I need to mention a couple things about Glacier. One, when we were going up there, it was said that because of COVID, they were not allowing very many folks on the Going to the Sun Highway. That's the premier attraction in that park. So we went anyway, even though we couldn't possibly work through their computer system and get the reservations for the Going to the Sky Highway. We had reservations to the park itself. We found out once we got there that if you show up after 5 o'clock, and it doesn't get dark till 10, then you can go on that highway. So all of the ooh-ah spots that we are supposed to see when you go to Glacier National Park are still available to the person who hasn't had an opportunity to get a reservation. So we enjoyed Glacier National Park, hiking, driving, going to the Sun Highway, and just enjoying the towns of Whitefish and Kalispell. But we enjoyed most our campsite at Glacier Campground, which we had for 4 nights. And one thing I need to mention, we brought along a little tiny Weber grill, which allowed us to have steaks or hamburgers almost every night of the trip. It was really a great blessing. Here you see the 4th of July. We've left Glacier and we're crossing Montana. This is Lewiston, Montana, and this is an RV park. Some wonderful people we met there, but this is the night of 4th of July. Here is the town of Medora, North Dakota, our next stop. A beautiful town right on the edge of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which, as one cavalry general described it in the 1800s, looks like hell after the fires went out, but a very interesting landscape. From there we went to the South Dakota, which is a beautiful, beautiful area on the western end. We'd been once before. This time we stayed in Deadwood. The time before we were in Hill City, but it's near Custer State Park and a couple of national parks. It's all very beautiful. At one point we got stopped by a bunch of buffalo coming down the road. They didn't realize that we were entitled to the right-of-way, so we stopped while they passed on both sides. The town of Deadwood is like a reenactment of an old western town. It's where Wild Bill Hickok was killed. Calamity Jane is buried there as well. And it has all the ambiance of a tourist attraction and an old western town. The campground we picked was called Creekside, and even though it was a wonderfully and well-appointed campground with great showers, we were right along the road, and everybody in that area likes to ride loud motorcycles during the day. Luckily, it quieted down in the evenings. After leaving South Dakota, we went across Nebraska, which is a long and big state, and we saw this Pony Express changing station, which was really interesting on the inside. And we spent 2 nights in the Lake of the Ozarks, where a lot of the crowd, as you can see, was a lot younger than us. We enjoyed that, and then later on extended our trip out a couple of days at Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky, which is also worth a stop. All in all, having air conditioning in the camper was a great thing, and we enjoyed the cooking, we enjoyed the camping. We spent 4 nights in a motel out of the 26 and put 6,574 miles on the car. Hope you enjoyed this.